Welcome, guys. Here we are for your favorite show, the CSFL recap show. I got the Demons and the Bears. The Bears giving us the flavor, and the Demons giving us the breakdown. Thanks, guys, for being here.
No problem.
Happy to be here, John. Let's talk some football.
Football, here it is. It is getting crazy when you look at these standings. The mountain of teams on the top, and the weeks are dwindling away quickly. And we'll take a quick look at these standings at the end of week 8. Also, we have a quick look at the playoff picture. The chart here, when you look at the 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th seeds, you want to reverse that. It's actually the Scorpions are 5th, Cobras are 6th, Dragons are 7th, and the Gators are 8th. But this is just as if the playoffs, if they ended today, but there's 3 more weeks. Those are the schedules under the teams. And it's looking like quite the race. I'm really curious how much these standings are going to change in the next few weeks, and that's going to be huge when it comes to this playoffs. So let's get into the first game. Got James yelling in the background. But hey, the Bears and the Vipers, was that the first game? No, that was the last game.
We can go from the back.
We're going to start with the Gators and Cobras on Friday night. Honestly, before anybody else says anything about this game, the Cobras were in a shootout. And not only were they in a shootout, but they won. I was watching this game, and it was going back and forth, and I thought for sure that this is favoring the Gators style of football. But the Cobras win in a shootout, and they keep pace with the high-powered Gators. Man, unbelievable. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game. What the heck happened?
Well, you picked 2 great games for the Friday Nighters. This one, both teams 3 and 4 going in, fighting for a playoff spot. Cobras went back to that Saints offense they went to a few weeks back, and it paid off for them, obviously. 45 points, the highest score on the season. But it didn't look so good out the gate. Their first offensive play, they throw a short pass to the flat. It's picked off by the Gators. Gators are up 10-0 early in the first quarter off that turnover. But then the Cobras offense got rolling. They responded with 14 points, and as you can see on the chart here, they're up 14-10 at the end of the first. Simmons and Dorsey, the quarterbacks, were just making nice throws all over the field. It was 24-all at halftime. You are right about that Cobras D. They're usually a strong team that keeps the score low. This week, they were getting torched. The Gators were just making plays all over the field. Dorsey was hitting big throws. He had a 74-yard touchdown to Matt Davis in the third. He had an 80-yard touchdown to Alan Dwight in the fourth. Alan Dwight was just having his way with that Cobras backfield. 8 catches, 152 yards, and a touchdown on the day. But that Saints playbook, I think it comes back to that for these Cobras. Maybe they found something here. It opened up their offense. They had 509 total yards in the win. Now their defense, if they could get that back to where it was, this team could be rolling. I think Gators with the loss, they're still clinging to that last playoff spot. They've got to start getting some wins though in order to hang on to it. Big player for the Cobras on the day was wide receiver Brian Williams, 3 touchdown catches, and also middle linebacker Todd Young for the Cobras. Despite the score they allowed, this guy had 9 tackles, including 4 for a loss.
Wow, 4 for a loss in one game.
So we're talking about
incredible.
X-Factor players this week because of the Rhinos. The Rhinos' awesome submission of X-Factor players. We've got Brian Williams, Todd Young, and Alan Dwight this week. All key contributors in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. What a great breakdown. And let me give you one little piece before I pass it to the Bears here to give us a little bit on this game. My big shout out for this week may not be in the stats. Well, the stats are there, but my big player of the game here is Ron Simmons. There's been a little bit of controversy, a little bit of question who's going to start at the quarterback position at the beginning of this season for the Cobras, and Ron Simmons got the job, and he started this game throwing 2 interceptions. Not back-to-back, I don't like back-to-back drives, I'm not sure, but they were 2 interceptions, and he threw them early, and then he came back finished with 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and scored 45 points, and came out in a shootout game and won. Big shout outs to Ron Simmons and obviously Prince Williams. We're gonna crown him. Crown him now. Prince Williams. Brian Williams. Bears, give me a little bit on this game before we look at the rankings.
I really liked how this game played out. I was really into it the whole time, I should say. And then I liked how the Cobras were able to compete in the air. It really took me for a whirl. I was impressed. And then I feel like their defense held it together for them at the end to help them get that extra drive to score the touchdown to win.
Absolutely. I agree. Brian Williams, 4 catches, 176 yards, and 3 touchdowns on 4 catches. Let's go take.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Let's go. Yeah, oh man, when he caught those and was just flying up the field. One of them, I believe the fourth one, if I'm not mistaken, Demons, he got tackled. Flying up the field, and he got tackled from behind, or that would have been 4 for 4. Okay, let's go take a look at these rankings for these Cobras. They finish 4-4 and avoid going 3-5 and maybe potentially missing the cusp of the playoff top 8. And now 4-4, they're looking strong. Maybe get another win here and maybe hold on to those last few seeds and make the playoffs here. The 6th overall offense, but they scored 45 points, still hold the #1 defense even after letting up 35 or 38 points. Now they go on the road against their rival and the team, the Rhinos. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these rankings when you take a look at these rankings of the Cobras.
Oh, the Cobras aren't in 12th for points per game. Look at that. All they took was a 45-point week, and they bumped themselves up 2 spots to 10th. Bet they're feeling good about that. Total offense is actually pretty good. 6th, 5th, and 7th there. Like, that's pretty decent for how they've been and how conservative they've played through most of the year. That rush offense, 5th overall. Charles Hackett, by my math, he's the 4th leading rusher in the league and their X-factor player on offense. And that total defense, yeah, there's a lot of good things to say about that defense. They've struggled lately, though, so they've got to fix that. They got to get back to their early season performances from before the playoffs start.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Bears, do you see anything that stands off the page about these Cobras before we take a look at the Gators?
I like seeing how the rush offense is 5th. I didn't expect that. That's pretty good. Charles Hackett's doing a good job.
All right, let's go take a look at the Gators here. Boom, Gators. Man, they're right at the edge of the playoffs here, right finishing week 8 at the 8th seed. Will they trend upwards or will they trend downwards? Now they have a big game against the Piranhas. Last season, they beat the Piranhas in the semifinal round to go to the championship game. So the Gators beat the Wildcats. The Gators went to the championship game last season, and they did beat the Piranhas in the playoffs. This team knows how to win. But is this a bit too much, too late? We're about to find out. Demons, you see anything that stands out to you about these Gators in general? Because the numbers look pretty low.
Yeah, what doesn't stand out about this game? If you look at this on paper, it's everything pretty much favors the Piranhas. There's very few of these that favor the Gators, except the fact that the Gators beat the Piranhas last time they met. I'm not, Johnny. It's okay. I can say some stuff, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just messing with you, buddy. I know you're talking to your kid. Yeah. So the Gators are actually seeded to play the Piranhas right now in the playoffs, this could be a playoff preview. And I think you got to throw all these numbers out the window. Gators know they can beat the Piranhas. There's not a lot of teams that can say that. So if you're the Gators, that's what you look at this. You don't care about these 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th ranks. You just go in there knowing that you can beat these guys.
Yeah, that's true. The confidence will definitely be high. Bears, what do you think about this game? You think the Gators got it?
I am really excited to see the matchup between the pass offense and the pass defense because they both pretty low. So it could be just a running game, or if Alonzo Graham's forced to pass, I'd like to see how this goes.
Yeah, well, the Ralph Dorsey, who has a few interceptions on the season, I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's at least 5 or 6. Will he be able to play a clean game against this second-ranked Piranhas turnover?
Yeah, that's gonna be big too. That's gonna play a big factor.
Let's go take a look at the second game, which was an overtime thriller. This game was exciting. The Scorpions were playing great. The Dragons made a few mistakes early and then came back with a vengeance. And it looked like the Dragons were going to win it right at the end. And Jackie Wilson comes out with this phenomenal play to tie the game, to force it to overtime. The Scorpions get the ball and they put it away. What a game by these Scorpions, man. They're just so resilient, and they have so many players that play well at key positions. And the Dragons, right at the end there, there's a few mistakes that they made, but they played great. They could have won this game if they were able to hold on there at that last play. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on this game. A little more detail from the Demons.
Well, there were two teams that switched their playbooks over to West Coast, maybe trying to mimic something that the Piranhas were doing there. Scorpions were one of them. They went West Coast this week, drifting from their all Denver play calling from previous weeks. Now, at the beginning of this game, you can see goose eggs in the first quarter. Both teams are having a hard time moving the football. Both teams playing strong defense, which is a staple of Scorpions games. Scorpions opened the scoring just after the 2-minute warning. They scored the first touchdown of the game. It was a 19-yard pass from Seymour to Griffin. Scorpions D then get a pick 6 right before halftime, and it's 14-0, and they're looking good. They're in good shape. Even in the third quarter, they end the quarter 21-7. The Dragons were showing signs of life in the second half on offense, though, but the Scorpions did seem generally in control. They had a nice clock-killing drive in the fourth quarter, but it ended in a punt. Now, the final 2 minutes of this game, it looked like a completely different game. The throw out the first 3.5 quarters, we're into the 2-minute warning, and it opened up. Dragons manage a big touchdown with 43 seconds left. They take the lead on a pick 6. And then, like you said, Jackie Wilson makes a huge play to get the game into overtime. And then the Scorpions get the ball to start overtime and win it on their first possession. The Scorpions did win the turnover differential in this one, 2-1. But the quarterbacks actually had some. Seymour had a pretty decent day, 112 rating, 4 touchdowns and an interception. I mean, 4 touchdowns is a great day, but the rating you think would be higher with 4 touchdowns. Platt had a pretty off day, I'd say, for the Dragons. He had a 70.9 rating, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. You think if he had a clean one of his, I think that's below average for him, like for rating by far. And if you could have had a better day, maybe the Dragons pull this one off. Bryce Locker starts again at halfback for the Dragons. But the interesting thing about that is their X Factor player, RJ Barber, 5 catches, 54 yards, and another receiving touchdown for the second straight week. So they're doing something different with RJ Barber out there, and he's making plays. But Jackie Wilson had a great day as well, 5 catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown. A key player out there for the Scorpions for sure.
Yeah, that's so awesome. That's really cool what the Dragons are doing there, starting the rookie at running back, and they got RJ Barber involved in the passing game. Actually finishes with the most receptions with 5 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown, like you're saying. So they're doing something over there with them. They're getting them involved some way, trying to get both these running backs involved. And like you said, what a difference at the end of the game, man. Really picked up really quickly, really fast, really exciting finish for the fans, unless you're a Dragons fan, obviously. But Bears, did you watch this game? And when you watch this game, like, what happened at the end of this game, in your opinion? Bears, are you there? Oh, Bears are gone, but that's okay.
I felt for the Dragons right there. Sorry,
yeah.
I thought it wasn't muted.
Okay, no
My
worries.
bad.
No worries.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking.
Go ahead.
So, anyways, I felt really bad. I felt the situation the Dragons were in. I've been there, and it really sucked to watch. And then the fact that they lost in overtime, I've been there. It sucks. I felt the pain.
Honestly, I thought when they got that momentum, it just felt like the Scorpions started playing conservative, and the Dragons were coming back, right?
One note is the Scorpions' defense was not even there really in the fourth. The Dragons were just doing what they wanted.
They absolutely were. Let's go take a look at these rankings. The Dragons. What is going on with these Dragons? They've been in the middle of the road all season. And
that's what the Demons like to say.
Yeah, they are.
Week to week, I'm gonna say it again. I can't help it.
They are until they prove it, right? I thought this was gonna be the week that they separate themselves from that team and beat the Scorpions. Would have been a statement win. But they bring it to overtime. They could one play, man. Honestly, I feel like if the Dragons, because of how much momentum they had there at the end, if they got it in first in overtime, we're talking about a Dragons win here. What stands out to you, Demons, when you look at these Dragons here, and do they got a chance against these high-rolling Bears that are on a 4-game winning streak?
How about your statement about that Dragons getting the ball and they win that? The Scorpions were locking them down for most of the game. You're talking one quarter where the Dragons opened it up, but the Scorpions possessed the ball for a lot of that fourth quarter as well. I mean, I think if it's overtime, you're restarting the game. Maybe that Scorpions D locks it down because they can't be discounted. I think the Dragons, it was a heartbreaking loss, but we know that's the nature of games in this league. I think they've earned a 4-4 record here. They've got 6 points per game, 6 in the turnover differential, 7th on offense, 7 on defense, 5th on the pass, 5th on the run. Like, we all know the story here. It's the same old with the Dragons, and hopefully before the good thing is for them, there's 11 games, so they can't finish exactly at even.
Nice. Bears, what do you think about the Dragons and in this matchup? How do you see this playing out? What's the thing that you're looking forward to seeing the most?
I'm looking forward to shutting down the run. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Brandon Platt does against my safety core and my young cornerback core.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the rookie running back, if the Dragons start him again, if they start him, that'll be 3 weeks in a row, and going against the #1 rushing defense in these Bears. That'll be a big test. If he can have a big game and run well against these Bears, then that would definitely be a big statement for the Dragons running back for sure.
I think we got Perkins too on the Dragons, 5th overall receiver in the league right now, going against that 11th ranked defense. Look for Perkins.
Yeah.
4th turnover though.
4th for turnover definitely stands out. Bears are rolling. That just stands out in general. But how many can the Bears win in a row? Is this the week that the Bears and the Dragons end the Bears winning streak, or do the Bears keep rolling and get 5 wins in a row? That is unbelievable after starting 0-2. Let's go.
No, we started 2-0 and then we lost 2 in a row.
Oh yeah, 2-2. Yeah, just playing phenomenal, man.
I try.
Let's go take a look at the. Let's take a look at these Scorpions.
I'm looking forward to this game.
Battle of the 2 new teams.
In the battle of the new teams, these 2 new teams are rivals. They play preseason game against each other. They couldn't be more opposite. One plays really good at home, one plays really good on the road. Unfortunate for us fans, Demons are at home and Scorpions are on the road. One runs the ball really well, one throws the ball, if not the best. Top tier defenses. I don't know. This screams like this has got to be. We're talking about playoff preview games, Demons. This looks like one to me right here. Love to hear your thoughts, obviously, on the Scorpions first, and then the matchup against the Demons at home.
Well, yeah, Scorpions fantastic road team, second overall in the run, only behind the Piranhas. Tiki Carter's having a phenomenal year. He's second, as expected, with second overall rush offense. He's the second overall running back in the league, and a key player that their offense works around. Their defense has been solid all year. I mean, they've even last week, yeah, they had a bad quarter. But every defense is gonna break a little bit in these games. There's usually a fair bit of scoring. They've been pretty solid for the most of the season here, and that turnover differential is going to play a big factor in this one. I think that's one of the big separations between these two teams. Is Scorpions +5, Demons -5. So I think that's a big storyline going into this one.
Absolutely, yeah. You couldn't be more right. Eric Watson, I believe, leads the league with 7 interceptions. Or no, doesn't lead the league, but he has 7 interceptions. I think the most is 9. But yeah, wow. I'm excited about this matchup. Bears, what stands out to you when you look at these rankings?
The fact that their defenses are like second and third in total defense.
Yeah, but it's so true.
I wonder if it's going to be a shootout because of how high powered their offenses can be, or is it going to be a defensive game and a low score? That's where my thought process. I want to see where it goes.
24-17, even like a 24-21. Yeah. It could be. I don't know.
Yeah, defensive match.
If it goes defensive, I don't know. That could favor the Demons, in my opinion, because the Demons are very explosive and can score on one play, like at pretty much at any point in the game, where the Scorpions need to get that running game to go and to kind of play off of that. But then they have the favorite of the defense for sure. Will there be a turnover in this game, and who will get it will be a big part of this matchup here. Both teams coming off a win, 5-3, matching records, about to bump head, but one of these teams are going to have 6 wins on the season. That's huge, man. Huge.
I think by the end of it, I think they both will. I think both these teams are on pace for winning records.
I agree with you on that one. Let's move on to the first Saturday matchup, which was the Rhinos and the Werewolves. And look at these Rhinos coming up, getting their 3rd win, 2 in a row now. You know that we're going to get lots of content because the Rhinos won 14 points in the second, 21 points in the 4th quarter. It was a close game, and then they kind of ran away with it. Demons, what did you think was the reason the Rhinos played so well this week compared to other weeks?
I think their defense stepped up and did a great job of limiting Kerry Kirkland in the pass game. He's been having some nice games for the Werewolves, and the Rhinos just contained him. I mean, both teams going in 2-5, fighting for what appears to be that last playoff spot based on records. And you got to think the Werewolves are falling a little out of contention now. The Rhinos, they're tied for the Gators, but the Gators own the spot right now. But this game was a lot closer than its score indicates. For most of this game, it was tight. The Alonzo Adkins got the start for the Rhinos, had a nice 51-yard touchdown to Trey Spires in the 2nd quarter to open up the scoring. And then at the end of the first half, there was a couple more touchdowns. It seemed like after a slow start by both offenses. But again, both defenses playing well, and that Werewolves defense is known to play good football as well. But early in the 4th quarter in this one, the stat comes up, and there seems to always be a Kerry Kirkland stat coming up at the 4th quarter of these games. He was 5 for 16 early in the 4th. Ooh. Now, he finished the day 16-31, 205 yards and a touchdown, but he had under 100 yards early in the 4th quarter. Like he had a pretty good 4th quarter, but the rest of the game, he was not moving the football, and that's the Rhinos' defense. He struggled, but you gotta give the credit where it's due. The Werewolves did make it close late. It was 21-16 with 2 minutes left. And then all of a sudden, 2 touchdowns later for the Rhinos, it's 35-16, and it's over. Alonzo Adkins for the Rhinos only threw 12 passes in this game.
Wow.
And he completed 11 of them for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
Show me a more efficient day by a quarterback. Basically, every time he throws the ball, it's 20 yards in the air. It's and maybe a touchdown. He had a fantastic game. Mark Marshall for the Rhinos was the MVP. 190 yards, 3 touchdowns, 22 carries. Big time X Factor player for the Rhinos. Darius Burke for the Werewolves had a nice game too. 135 yards, 53 yards receiving, helping out his quarterback. But what he did in this one, which I haven't really seen a lot of this year, was a late fumble in the fourth quarter that you could argue cost the Werewolves the game, and that was an uncharacteristic play by the Werewolves star running back, and was definitely a bad time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Darius Burke is known for being one of the players that can get like 30 reps a game and never turns the ball over. He was playing phenomenal last season and has really been struggling this season. They tried to run the ball a lot, like you said, and he only had 100 passing yards. The quarterback for the Werewolves, Kerry Kirkland, and the stats love showing Kerry Kirkland stats, and I love Kerry Kirkland, and I hope they stick it out with him. This was a tough game for him. The Rhinos really turned things around there. Really excited for the Rhinos. They look like the old Rhinos, honestly. With Mark Marshall rolling, quarterback playing extremely efficient like that. Really excited for the Rhinos. Can they have a late push here and catch on fire and get the momentum late like this? Bears, what do you think of this performance in this game in general?
I agree with the Demons. They was pretty close up until the end.
One of the
Werewolves.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The Werewolves, like you guys were saying, Darius Burke made an unusual turnover. Really ended up costing them.
I got a really cool stat that I wanted to bring up.
All right, go for it.
That before we change it, that you reminded me of. These two teams did a trade, and they traded wide receivers. One was Trey Spires from the Werewolves, went to the Rhinos, and the other one was Rob Freeborg. Both of these receivers caught touchdowns against their former teams, and it was really exciting to see when the Werewolves caught that touchdown late, and it was the only passing touchdown, and it was Rob Freeborg. I was like, oh, no way. No, he was calling for it in the huddle, and I just love seeing that stuff. You love the storylines, Demons? There's one for you. Let's go take a look at the Rhinos, since we're all excited about these Rhinos here. And we, as in myself. The Rhinos, third total offense. They can play good on offense. They got the fourth total offense with the third for points per game. 2 wins in a row. Now they're playing their rival in the Cobras, their family, their brother. These guys are siblings. They're related, and they're about to go at each other and fight each other over the Thanksgiving dinner. Whoever wins here gets the turkey leg. So, what do you think about this game, Demons and the Rhinos? Do they got what it takes to make a late push here?
Do the Rhinos have what it takes to get the turkey leg? Probably. I think these Rhinos, they've been teasing these wins all season long. They haven't been a bad team. They've had some bad breaks. Positive turnover differential, 3rd overall in scoring, 4th overall for offense. Their defense has let them down in some games early, but it looks like they're tightening that up. They are storming for that 8th playoff spot right now, and if they beat the Cobras, I think they might jump ahead of them and even get into that 7th spot. They're not out of this race by a long shot, and they're getting hot at the right time. I think they've got I believe that this team can make the playoff. Will make the playoffs. I'm pretty confident in that at this point. Seeing how some of the other teams are playing, I think the Rhinos are hot and they're going to make it. I will say Dorsey having a great season for him at receiver. You think he's 6th overall in the league right now. He's just under 800 yards on the year. Another great player for that team.
Yeah, speaking of X factors, I love talking about how the diversity and how these teams are so different. And we're talking about the Demons and the Scorpions, how they're like the exact polar opposites. We got one right here. These guys are rivals, and they're so opposite. One plays phenomenal offensively, the Rhinos, and one struggles notoriously on offense in the Cobras. The other team, the Cobras, have the 1st overall defense, and the Rhinos have notoriously struggled on defense. But if the defense can pick it up for the Rhinos, man, these Cobras are in trouble. And the Cobras just picked it up big offensively, scoring 45 points. So both of these teams are showing that their weaknesses have improved really good. So that's what I'm really excited about this game. Bears, give me a little bit of this game before we move on to the...
If the Cobras can step up and stop the run game, then I think they win. But if Hackett goes off, then it's a Rhinos victory. That's how I see it. And I find it cool that the Rhinos are trying to beat the Gators for the last playoff spot. They have a little rivalry themselves.
Yeah, they do.
That's pretty good.
They cool. They
That's
do.
the storyline.
You would just love to see one of them bump each other out. Would be great, obviously, right? But yeah, but if Mark Marshall has a big day, you mean? That is what you meant. Yeah, he could run away.
Yeah,
with
not
it.
Hackett. Sorry, yeah, Marshall.
Yeah, no worries. Let's talk about these werewolves real quick. These werewolves, man, they were looking hot. They were going good. Kerry Kirkland was rolling. Luke Atkinson, Darius Burke, like the Demon said, had an uncharacteristic fumble late in the game. They have the 12th rush defense. Man, they're going against a really powerful team in the Wildcats, even though the Wildcats have lost 2 out of their last 3 games, I believe. But that number 1 turnover differential versus the 12th ranked turnover differential just it feels like it's written in bold letters to me. Demons, what do you think these werewolves can do? Do you think they're out of the playoffs now, or do you think they have a chance to turn this around? And if they do, what can they possibly do to turn this around?
Well, you've been talking about the Rhinos and their season turning around with the win last week over the Demons. I think the Werewolves, I had a thought that they would be the Cinderella team to come out of nowhere and make a run, but I think I lost a little bit of faith after this last week's performance. That looked like the weeks 1 and 2 Quincy Barnett Werewolves more than the recent Kerry Kirkland Werewolves, and you can't be doing that this late in the year. You've got to go against the Wildcats in their house next week. I don't feel good about this one if I'm the Werewolves. There's not a lot of things that favor them, and I'll say a positive about them since I don't want to be too hard on him here. Atkinson having a great year for him. He's actually just behind Dorsey in yardage, 7th overall receiver in the league, having a good year despite that 8th overall offense and 9th overall pass game.
Yeah, I agree. And also, they got the defense to pull it off. So if the Wildcats have been struggling to score it offensively the last few weeks, and I think that's a big part of why they've been losing. And if the Werewolves can come through and keep it a close game like the Scorpions did, the Werewolves do have a chance to play really well with Kerry Kirkland. I know he had an off game, but he's also had 2 games this season where he had 400 yards. And take a look at the Wildcats' 12th ranked passing defense. I could see them letting up a lot of yards to Kerry Kirkland. Yes, he might throw an interception or 2, but like the Demon said before, those are the games they win when he throws interceptions.
It's very strange. It's a very strange dynamic how if Kerry Kirkland throws picks, it's like he gets angry and plays better because of it. I don't know. It's something like that.
Exactly. So I'm okay with that, and I can see it playing out like that, right? So absolutely. So you never know. Never rule them out, but this is a must win, and if they lose this game, I'm going to say they are out. The playoffs start early right now. Week 9 for the Werewolves. Season 3 playoffs are right now for these guys. Let's take a look at the next matchup. I'm getting all excited. Okay, the next matchup is right here. The Blue Jays
and the
Piranhas.
excitement drops just a little bit.
And the excitement drops a little bit. Man, we all had hopes and dreams, and we'd all love to see, an underdog team take out the big dog, but this was not that. And the Piranhas roll on and smush the Blue Jays on their way to potential first seed in the Season 3 CSFL season. Blue Jays, man, I don't know what to say. They have all the potential, all of the squad, and they're looking very dim now and maybe out for the Season 3 playoffs. Demons, what do you think about this game? Was this just another roll-in, another day in the office for Alonzo Graham?
It was another day in the office for these Piranhas as a team. Good teams beat teams that they're supposed to beat. 6-1 against the Blue Jays, who are struggling on the year at home. You have to win this game if you're the Piranhas, and you have to win. You have to show that you're the better team, and they did exactly what they're supposed to do. It looked like a blowout on paper, and it was a blowout. This is Blue Jays Season 3 we're talking about. I mean, previous years they were likely better, but this year's it doesn't seem to be going their way, and the Piranhas just kept rolling like they usually do. The Blue Jays came out and had a 3-0 lead on their opening drive, and then it's all downhill from there. Unfortunately, it was all Piranhas. Reeves was struggling on the day, couldn't really get anything going, threw a couple picks. The Piranhas avoided their typical shootout style game this week and instead just put up a lot of points themselves while containing the other team. They coasted to the win at halftime. It was 21-10, but they were up 21-3 in the first half, and they never really looked back from that. Blue Jays, they didn't really score. They didn't score in the second half, and until that touchdown in the fourth, which occurred at the 1:41 remaining mark. They just had turnovers and punts through the whole second half up to that point, and it just nothing going offensively. And defensively, Burnside was just as usual, being his over 100-yard day himself. There, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Reeves ends the day with an 84 rating, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks, 252 yards. It's a lot of yards, but it's not a whole lot to be happy about there if you're the Blue Jays. Cornerback Neil Mitchell, I want to talk about on this one.
Yeah.
4 pass deflections in this game. And you want to talk about X-Factor players. Neil Mitchell might be the best defensive player in this league. This guy, 4 pass deflections in this game. He is 4th in the league in tackling with 38 tackles. By my math, could be a little wrong on the stat sheet, John. You might have to look that up afterward. But he leads the league in interceptions with 4 as well. This guy is all over the field, and I know we talk about him a lot, but the stats back him up, and he is like it's always talking about Burnside and Graham with the Piranhas offense, but Neil Mitchell, he is helping that team earn their first place ranking.
Yeah, he is. He's got 4 interceptions on the season, which is the most in the league, and he is got 38 tackles on the season. And like you said, he is maybe the up for defensive player of the year. Maybe he might.
He's got to be the Piranha's choice for it.
He's definitely got to be a candidate, and he's leading his team to a 7-1 record. So he is leading the defense for that. Neil Mitchell's really shutting teams down, man. Wow. Yeah, let's go take a look at these Piranhas rankings.
One thing, at halftime when it was 28-10, I kind of knew what was going to happen. Yeah, really cool game. Blue Jays tried to come back, but it was too little, too late.
Yeah. They did hold them to 2 field goals in the second half, but it just...
Yeah, that's what I mean. They tried, but it was too little, too late.
But yeah, they
didn't get any... They didn't, capitalize on a good defensive effort.
The Piranhas once again win. Don't avoid going on a 2-game losing streak. and are now on the road with the number one offense, number one rushing offense, and the number one for points per game, second overall for turnovers, second for rush defense. They just that just sounds like a winning formula to me. Do the Gators got what it takes to take down these Piranhas? And are the Piranhas, do you think, are going to finish with the first seed in the season, Demons? What do you think? Because the Wildcats and Bears are really close, but do you think these Piranhas are going to finish at the number one seed?
I think so. I don't. With 3 games left, I can't see a team overtaking them. I don't know what the tiebreak is though.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a head-to-head, and then it goes for points for. I'm pretty sure.
So the Bears and Piranhas have played already, correct?
Yes.
I won.
Bears are the only team to beat them. Yep.
And the Wildcats have not played the Piranhas yet.
Correct. They play the last week of the season. So if the Bears finish with the same record as them, they'll be ahead of them.
So here we go. Now we've got a scenario where going into the last week, hypothetical, Piranhas still only have 1 loss. Bears and Wildcats still both only have 2 losses. Wildcats beat the Piranhas in last week of the season. They're all tied for first place. Who walks out with the first seed in that scenario?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That could be a wild finish. Wild. Like, the top seed is up for grabs for sure. I still like the Piranhas to take it home.
I think the Wildcats win that one.
Yeah, because they beat the other 2 teams.
No, because they beat me too.
I think I still got to pick the Piranhas to finish first. I can't see they lost one game. It was a really tight game. They lost. I think the Bears had to put up 51 points on to beat them.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was a wild game. That second half of the game, what you're talking about with the Blue Jays holding them to only 6 points in the second half, they were up by 18, and they could just shut the game down. They can run the clock out on you, and they don't have to score points anymore. It's Willie Burnside, clearly the league's leading rusher. It goes without saying. There's only good things we can say about him. Their defense is solid too. I mean, even if you look at it, sorry, John, I know you changed the screen there, but
no worries.
You'd think in some of the blowout games they get in, their defense would be ranked a lot lower, but they have some good ranks on defense. They have a lot of ball hawks in that secondary. You have Neil Mitchell, we've been talking about, and then you have Deonta Jones. 3 interceptions on the year as well. They had another corner make an interception in the previous game against the Blue Jays last week. These guys are out there making plays in that secondary, and it's a huge reason why these guys are winning games.
It's so true.
Burnside's he didn't do as good against the Bears' rush defense. They came back strong this week.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to see. It's Willie Burnside on the bounce back game, like you're saying, and I'm excited to see these guys rolling. It's just I switched a graphic just because we're 2 minutes over, so I gotta keep it rolling. Let's give these Blue Jays a little bit of love here, because we're talking about the Piranhas there, and these Blue Jays, man, 2-6 facing a 1-7 team. Man, both these teams, man, must feel like this season has been a huge shock for them. Only 3 wins combined between these 2 teams after 8 weeks. Like, these 2 teams were a lot of people's number 1 and number 2 for the power rankings. And they could potentially, the loser of this game may potentially get the first overall draft pick, is what they're going to start talking about. Demons, what do you think about these Blue Jays season in general, and is it over?
Well, there is they could jump right back into it next week. They got the 1-7 Vipers, who just look a little lost on the field lately. And the Blue Jays still have Eric Reeves in that number 3 pass offense. They have Coyle, who's actually the 3rd leading receiver in the league for yardage. This team can make plays and they can score points. They've had some bad breaks. We've talked about 2 of their losses being just massive defensive breakdowns near the very end of the game. Could easily be 4-4, which would have them in the playoffs. Now, if the Rhinos lose and the Gators lose, and then you've got a Jays win, they're all 3-5, and the Jays are right back into the discussion. So they're not quite out of it yet. They're losing. Their window's closing fast on them, though. Really, that's their big positive is Eric Reeves in that pass offense and Coyle on the receiving. There's not a lot else here that's a lot very positive for them. It's a struggling defense, and the rest of the offense is struggling.
Last season, the Blue Jays were way more balanced. I'm going to go out and say it. They had a way better running game and an average passing game. Now they got an amazing passing game with a bottom of the barrel running game. It's just not a healthy balance. But the Blue Jays... Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'd like to see how their struggling offense is gonna do against the Vipers defense, because they still have the 6th total defense, even though their record's 1-7.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them when the Blue Jays are on offense and the Vipers are on defense for sure. But this here is a must win. If they lose this game, the season's over for the Blue Jays.
The Vipers probably just playing spoiler now. I don't think they can catch back.
If the Gators and the Rhinos lose every game for the next 3 weeks, the Vipers need help, and the Vipers could, if they win out, they could finish with 4 wins, and they play the Blue Jays, Gators, and Rhinos, the Vipers. So let's see how that plays. It's gonna be exciting, buddy. It's like it was written. I'm telling you, it's gonna be really, really, really exciting. Go ahead.
Not over till it's over. I mean, if you're not mathematically out, you're not out. But man, 1-7 doesn't look good. I almost think like looking at the Blue Jays 2-6 and thinking they're almost out. But 1-7 Vipers, hey, anything can happen.
Man, what a historic story it would be if they made the 8th seed. And honestly, let's see how this plays out, because you just never know. But let's move on to the 5th game of the weekend, which was the first evening game for Saturday night, which was the Wildcats and Demons. Now, what a game here. What a thriller. Amazing game, obviously. What a performance. The Demons, they just play so well at home. And the Demons, I'm so proud of them. And look how great they are. No one expected these Demons to be this good. And I was talking about the Scorpions beating the Dragons, or the Dragons, beating the Scorpions, and that being a statement game. And they weren't able to do it. This here, Demons beating the Wildcats, I'm going to say this is a statement game. The Demons are for real. They can't be under anybody's radar no more. This is a serious team that people need to take serious, even if they're dressed in pink. Demons. Hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You better take the pink machine seriously. No, I tell you, you take them seriously at home when they're wearing black. That's when you take them seriously. We'll see when they're wearing white how serious people take them. The Wildcats showed up for this one big time. This game delivered. Last week we were joking around about it possibly being game of the week, and I think it was. I think this was 2 halves with 2 different styles of football. A wide open first half with offenses that were just cutting through the defenses, and then the second half the defenses stepped up, made some plays, had a nice overtime finish with some key plays on both sides of the field. Wild end of the fourth quarter. You want to talk about X factor players? This game was loaded with them. You have Troy Jackson, the league's leading receiver, and then Shane Antwine, the second leading receiver in the league. And then actually Lamar Ball is the 4th in yardage. And then you're sitting there with Trevor Simpson, who's the top 5 running back in the league. And then you got to go over to the Wildcats defense, which was really where there were the 6-2. Going into the game, it was a 6-1 team against a 4-3 team. And the Wildcats defense has a lot more people on that top chart than the Demons do. They have Glenn Anderson leading the league in tackles right now. And they also have Heath Swan, who's up on that list in the top 5. These guys are loaded with talent. They've earned their 6-2 record. Now this one, they overtime, and it can go either way. They didn't come out on top in this one, but it was a back and forth game for most of the night. It was a QB showcase. Engram and Eric Watson were just on fire. I mean, I think other than one Eric Watson mistake in the second quarter, where Eric Gregg gets a 93-yard pick six for the Wildcats. You're talking.
Yeesh.
It was a fantastic play by Eric Gregg, but the play right before that, Eric Watson, he made two mistakes in a row because he missed a wide open receiver in the middle of the field to get it that would have been a touchdown instead. Lamar Ball had a bounce back game for the Demons after his embarrassing high step incident last week. So glad to see he came back with as the Demons owner, I'm glad to see he came back with a one-handed catch to take the crucial lead in the fourth quarter. Demons almost lost this one though. In the fourth quarter, there was 13 seconds left after that one-handed catch by Lamar Ball. They squib kick it for some reason, but the squib kick isn't so bad. You're going to kill some clock, that's fine. They squib kick it out of bounds. Huge mistake, which is why they were 4-3 going in, and the Wildcats are 6-1. 6-1 teams don't make mistakes like that. You squib kick it out of bounds. Wildcats take over at their 40-yard line with 13 seconds left. Demons actually get a sack. Wildcats quickly call timeout. There's only 11 seconds left. And Engram hits, I believe, it was Drennan on the left side of the field. And they just got Drennan before he scored a touchdown. And if there was any more time on that clock, the Wildcats get to run some plays from the red zone. But instead, they had to settle for a field goal, go into overtime, where the Demons made a stop on defense, and the Wildcats... and then the Wildcats couldn't stop Leicester for a lot of that overtime, and the Demons drove down for a field goal. The big storyline of this one was, could Eric Watson, he is a little interception prone. The Demons get throw happy out there, and he throws some picks as a result. Can he overcome that? Because last week it was a pick six that the Demons could not overcome. This week they overcame it. It was a different story. They outgained the Wildcats 566-400 on offense, but the Wildcats had no turnovers. They played a clean game. Engram finishes 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, spreads the ball out to 6 different receivers. Watson, 404 touchdowns, a pick, spread the ball out to 8 different receivers.
Wow.
These QBs were on fire in this game. Quincy Drennan, 6 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. Great game for the Wildcats. Oddly enough, on the stat sheet, Antoine and Troy Jackson were not the huge players in this one for being the 1 and 2 receivers in the league. Now, Antoine had a touchdown, and they both had a few catches, but not really big playmakers in this one. Lamar Lester for the Demons he had 83 yards running and 124 receiving. And Glenn Anderson for the Wildcats, I mentioned his name earlier, 12 tackles on the day. I feel like that's not the first time I've said that in these recaps, and including a tackle for a loss. Just a fantastic game by the Wildcats. This was a great game all over the place, Johnny. I mean, there were plays being made by offenses and defenses. It delivered. I loved watching it. Even if my team would have lost, I would have loved watching it. This was a great game.
Eric Watson has to be up for offensive MVP, and he pulls it off again, like you're saying, 478 yards, 4 touchdowns, 142 quarterback rating, unbelievable. And yeah, man, both the receivers, like you're saying, they had all the attention, but they still had the other players to make it happen, and they really lit it up. And the Demons come away with a huge win at home. They might even be getting a playoff home game in their first ever season in the CSFL. So that's super exciting. Let's go take a look at the Wildcats real quick. And Bears, what do you think about these Wildcats against the Demons, and a little bit on these rankings as well?
I feel like the Demons really did prove themselves. That game was really good. One thing is, I don't think the rookie running back for the Wildcats, had a play where he looked like he was about to break free. He got sacked. Well, not sacked, but tackled. And I was like, oh no. And I just knew from that point. It was like in the fourth quarter. I can't remember exactly. But from that point, I was like, it's not. I had a feeling, and my feeling was right. They ended up losing in overtime.
Yeah, man, they couldn't get the running game going, but the best play, the most exciting play, like the Demons were saying, was Quincy Drennan at the end of the game. Right there, almost getting it in, and breaks. He actually catches it and runs and breaks a tackle, and then the second guy had to bring him down. They finally were able to get a timeout there, luckily, but with not enough time to run another play. These Wildcats, they are got 9 lives. They just one of those teams that just they get lucky a lot. But if they get lucky a lot too many times, is that luck, or do they put themselves in a position to get lucky? So they do the right thing a lot. Played really clean, like the Demons were saying. Really underrated offense. 4th for points per game. 4th for passing offense. 6th for rushing offense, even though they're starting a rookie. But the real story is the 12th ranked total defense. They do let up a lot of points and a lot of yards, but they turn the ball over. A bend but don't break type of defense. Demons, love to hear your thoughts on the Wildcats. Demons, you there?
I was muted, John. I apologize.
No
I
worries.
don't usually do that.
No
Yeah,
worries.
you were talking about luck for the Wildcats, and I'll say luck comes to the prepared. This team is loaded with skill players. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and it's because they play well as a team. They play well as a unit. When Troy Jackson isn't making plays, there's Quincy Drennan stepping up. Trevor Simpson makes plays at running back. He's showing to be a top running back in this league as a rookie. That defense is deceiving again. It's one of those things. Week in, week out, we talk about the amount of yards they let up. But look at that what's more important to the Wildcats? The 458 yards that Eric Watson threw, or the pick 6 they got, a 93-yard pick 6? I guess that's up to the Wildcats owner to answer that question. But turnovers change the game, but they don't get a lot of defensive stops for punts, which are almost as good sometimes in this league when you stop a team for a punt.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, that's very, very true. These Wildcats looking really good, man. Let's see if they can get a push here and avoid going too low and maybe losing a home game because they're up there. But like you were talking about before, with the Bears, Wildcats, and Piranhas potentially finishing with the same record or something like that. That scenario, I'm really excited to see how these last few weeks go down because the top 8's going to change big time, right? These next few weeks.
Yeah, and I'm not too. You can't go into any game underestimating your opponent. But if you're the Wildcats, you're looking to get back on track against the Werewolves next week. That's at home. They're a 2-6 team. I think that's a must. That's a win that the Wildcats, if you're looking at season 3 standings, should have.
I agree with you. Yeah, that should be an easy win, I guess. But there is no easy wins. But yes, it potentially could be. But like we're saying, the Werewolves have a really good defense. Let's see if they can play spoiler there. But now let's take a good look at these Demons. Give them a little bit of love. Amazing offense. 2nd total offense. That's no joke, man. Top 2 in anything. If you're top 2, top 3 in anything, you're extremely good in 12 teams. That's a huge statement. Number 1 passing offense. 3rd total defense. 3rd against the pass. But that tied for 10th place for turnover differential might be a problem with these really good traveling Scorpions. Bears, give me a little bit on these Demons. What do you think about these Demons in general?
I think they're really surprising. They have not only they have a passing game, they got a running game, and the defense is holding their own. The only thing that they got against them is the turnover differential, but that's because they air the ball out a lot. But I'm going to be excited to see how the 11th ranked total offense goes against the 3rd ranked total defense.
Yeah.
Fun game to watch.
Well, the Demons shut down the Scorpions' offense.
Because there's times where Seymour struggles. So
yeah,
if he struggles this game, it's the Demons game. And is it Demons at home?
Demons are at home. Yeah.
I played pretty good then, but also Scorpions played good on the road. So we'll see.
Yeah, they both are at their own strengths, so it's exciting to see. Last time these teams played, it was a Scorpions win. So let's see if the Demons can get their revenge in the regular season. But this is definitely going to be a playoff match. Demons, you want to give me a little bit of Demon love before we change to the next game. What do you think?
Oh yeah, let's try not to go too far into it. I mean, yeah, the last time these two met, it was preseason. Maybe the teams looked a little different. I know the the defense, the Demons' defense looked a lot different. But the Scorpions ran away with it. It was I think it was a 2-score game by the end of it, and they made a lot of plays to seal the deal in that preseason game. Tiki Carter versus that 8th overall run defense is going to be a huge factor, but I think the Demons' run defense, they contained Trevor Simpson pretty well last week. I think, Scorpions on the road are great. Demons undefeated at home. I think going into overtime in this one, you had the Wildcats who'd never lost in overtime against the Demons who hadn't lost at home in the regular season. And someone was going to lose a record in that game. And that's what happens when teams like this. Like I don't think the Scorpions have lost on the road yet. So now we have another one where someone's going to lose a record in this game, and I can't wait. I think this is the coin toss. It really depends on who can establish the style of game they want to play. I think if the Scorpions keep this one low, they're going to win it.
Game of the week?
Oh, I can't answer that, Johnny. You know what I think of it.
Bears? You think this is a game of the week?
I'm very excited to see it. They're both above 500, so
they're both 5-3. It's gotta be. It's gotta be, right? You'd think. It's gotta be. Okay, let's go take a look at this last game. Bears versus the Vipers. Wow, the Bears, man. They are for real. And the Vipers looked good let's give the Vipers a little bit here. They looked good. They had an interception in the end zone, which I was very impressed by Pete Jordan, the rookie strong safety. I love that player. He's been playing really well for the Vipers, but then the second half was a whole other story, and the Bears win 34-10. Man, Vipers, I thought they were playing well in the first half, but couldn't get it done in the second half. Demons, what happened to these Vipers, and the Bears just rolling here?
Well, earlier we had Piranhas and Blue Jays. We talked about a top team playing a team that's on the outside of the playoffs looking in, and the top team looking at that game and saying, we got to just establish who we are and win the game, clearly win the game, never put it in doubt. The Vipers actually went up 7-0 in this game. Blue Jays went up 3-0 in their game. Shane, you want a positive about the Vipers? Shane Lott, 5 receptions, 116 yards and a touchdown. Had an awesome day. And Cal McDowell, 8 tackles, 1 for a loss, and he only allowed 2 catches. So 2 good players for the Vipers that had good games, but where was the rest of the team? Because after that opening drive touchdown, I think the Bears just steamrolled them. It was 17-10 at halftime. The Vipers didn't get any points in the second half, which is just almost unheard of, to not even get that garbage time points after the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
The Bears outgained them 427-248 on offense.
Ouch.
The Vipers managed only 7 rush yards on the game. Now, Clemens was only given 3 opportunities with the football to run. But 7 rush yards, that's insane. Willie Burnside gets more than that on 1 carry.
That's a record. That's a record.
Yeah. Well, speaking of running backs who run well, you've got, I'm going to go flip to the Bears here, and Hilliard, who's 3rd overall in the league right now. He's just behind Tiki Carter for 2nd. He's 3rd. So he's the top level running back in this league as well. And that Bears defense is loaded with talent too. They actually have the 2nd overall tackler in Thomas Vickers, and Ike Hall is up in that list as well. And he's 6th overall right now for tackles. I think these guys are loaded with talent too. And Bill Morris it's just another day in the office for Bill Morris. 265 yards, 3 touchdowns. You score 34 points, your quarterback only needs to throw 265 yards because William Hilliard ran for 166 and a touchdown himself.
Wow.
And Quincy Barnett had a game. This is not his season. He struggled with the Werewolves. He's been struggling with the Vipers. He couldn't get any momentum going this game. And Thomas Vickers, again, you got to look at him and think he's a reason why. 5 deflected passes on the game. And
Wow.
only 3 tackles, and he only allowed 2 catches. So they kept throwing his way, even though he kept knocking the ball down. Quincy Barnett had to clue in at some point that this guy wasn't going to let a lot of catches go, but he didn't. He kept trying, kept going to Vickers, and Vickers wasn't letting it happen.
Oh man, yeah, Vickers is looking like he could be a defensive candidate for defensive player of the year for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's go take a look at these Bears. Man, they just playing really good offensively. I'm going to say their quarterback, Bill Morris, he has the best quarterback rating with 140.3 right now, 2,400 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions on the season. And he might be up for offensive MVP as well. He's just playing so well on offense. It's really just carrying their defense, and their defense is playing really well, turning the ball over as well, stopping the run, forcing them to throw to kind of play into their game because of how many points they score. This is the team that beat the Piranhas. They're only one team to do it, and that's the Bears. So they're now playing at home against these Dragons, and man, I'm really curious if these Bears can maybe potentially finish with the first seed. Looks like they're going to get a home playoff game. Demons, give me a little bit on these Bears here.
Well, here we go. 3rd overall offense with 2nd overall pass and 3rd overall rush. You have to look at this team and say they are the most balanced offense in the league. Strongest overall offense. When you look at the 2 teams above them in offense, you've got Burnsides and the Piranhas. Top rush team, top offense. Demons and Eric Watson, top pass team, second best offense. Bears, Hilliard, Bill Morris, a number of good receivers, 3rd overall offense. This team is the most balanced attack in the league. And their defense, that rush defense, 1st overall, making a statement with only 7 yards allowed last week.
Wow.
That's got to be a record. That has to be a record for the least amount of yards in a game for running.
It is.
The pass defense, they want to force you to throw, get the ball to their secondary, get Thomas Vickers involved so he just keeps knocking it down. This team, they're rolling. Their 2 losses were both overtime, like we've said before. The Dragons got to be looking at this game and start worrying about their own playoff hopes because that's a tough matchup this late in the season.
I agree. Bears, give me a little bit of Bear love.
I'd like to give a big props to our offensive line. You're really making William Hilliard's day a lot easier. They're just giving him big holes to run through. They're like, here you go, bud. And he just started running. And then also to add, he had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
He's all over the place. And then also Joe Claiborne had another big day.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, wow. Yeah, William Hilliard has been playing absolutely phenomenal with over 300 receiving yards on the season. Go ahead.
Note, beside Bill Morris's run for offensive MVP, we were like one of the worst teams last year, and now we're one of the best teams this year.
Yeah, that's what one draft can do for you, buddy.
That's all in the captain.
Yeah, he could be comeback player of the year, actually. That's definitely for sure. Let's go take a look at these Vipers. Poor Vipers. 4 losses in a row. I love the Vipers, but they need to get Phil Clemens going. 7 rushing yards. That's not Phil Clemens' fault, and that is unacceptable. He needs to run the ball. They need to get him going. But they called a New England offense, and we've seen the Demons do this before. But their quarterback, Aaron Watson, was able to pull it off. They only had like 30 rushing yards or something like that on that game too. But they ended up throwing it for like 400 and something, where they don't have the quarterback to do that, or at least maybe they're trying to see if they did have the quarterback to do that. And he just wasn't able to come through for them. The Vipers, man, they always played good on defense notoriously and had a good running game, and now they seem to be switching things up, and it just hasn't worked out. And I'm not trying to be hard on them, but I'm being honest. They have all the talent and none of the direction. They have to find their identity, this team. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Vipers and maybe a little bit on this game. What stands out to you, or what are you most looking forward to when you look at these, when this game specifically?
Well, you made a point about the New England offense being called and the Vipers maybe seeing what they have in Quincy Barnett. And maybe that's the way the owner was looking at this one, because Quincy Barnett, we've seen a lot of him this year. We've talked about him on 2 different teams. He's had a lot of struggles this season, and they gave him the keys to the car and he crashed it. The Phil Clemens is definitely a top player on that offense. One of the Shane Lott is getting more involved, which is good for the owner to see, but with Phil Clemens only getting the ball 3 times on running the ball, that's unacceptable for this team. When you're losing 1-7, when you're a 1-7 team, if you're trying to win the game, I would think you want to get the ball to your running back and at least eat up some clock, keep the game close. Quincy Barnett does not appear to be the answer to in letting him air it out. That just seems to be a recipe for disaster, as shown by last week's game against the Bears. Now, it's easy to pick on them. They're 1-7. They just came off a week where they only scored 10 points, but they're really earning that 1-7 record with weeks like that.
Yeah, man, Bears. Give me a little bit on these Vipers. What do you think? Is it possible for them to turn this around, or is it over?
Well, it's not over until the season's over. Like, they still have a chance, like you were saying, but they have to find a way to get their running back involved, as the Demons were saying. Phil Clemens can't have games where he only has 7 yards and 3 carries. I'm good on my defense, but you can't be doing that if you want to win football games.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, well, that is all the matchups, guys. Thank you so much for the breakdown, and I'm really looking forward to these next 3 weeks. Holy smokes, is it going to be a story to tell. All right.
Can't wait to see how this plays out.
Yeah, this is going to be cool, man. I'd love to see this, because these top 8 are going to change, like, real quick. The Demons, who do you think might get bumped out, and who do you think might miss the playoffs that's in there, and who do you think might make it that's not?
I think the Rhinos bump out one of the Cobras or Gators.
Nice.
I think the Dragons make it with a 5-6 or a 6-5 record.
Oh, big statement. Bears, what do you think? What do you think? I'd love to hear that too. What do you think, Bears?
I think it's Cobras. Rhinos. The Rhinos beat up the Gators.
Oh man, the Rhinos bump out the Gators would be crazy. But the Demons think the Dragons are gonna make it in, and the Cobras are, oh man, they're right on the cusp there as well. So let's see how that plays out. 4 of these teams are not gonna make it, and 8 teams are gonna make it. 3 weeks left until we start the season 3 playoffs, guys. Super excited. Thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot, John.
Anytime.